Hello and welcome to CheersToFearYT, where we take horror films and turn them into drinking games. We're your two hosts. I'm Alex.
And I'm Tucker. Today we will be making a drinking game for Escape Room, Tournament of Champions. Directed once again by Adam Robitel.
Escape Room 2 starts with Zoe still wanting to get revenge on Minos for putting herself and Ben through such a horrific experience, as well as preventing them from killing more innocent people.
I need to know that the criminals who killed the 4 people in front of me are held accountable.
They then head to New York to disband the organization once and for all. However, Minos is still in control, and they are thrusted back into the escape room.
Once again, Zoe and Ben are forced to play through an escape room, but this time with other people that have also survived escape rooms. It's the best of the best working together to see which one of them will come out on top for the second time.
So what is this? Like a tournament of champions?
For new movies, we have generally tried to avoid spoilers in the past. This time, however, we are going to be taking a bit of a different approach, since we came to the conclusion that for this movie, we will have to be talking about spoilers in our discussion. We will not be talking about the numbers for our rules, so if you want to watch our analysis for the rules, feel free to do so. With that being said, we recommend you watch the movie first, and perhaps even with our drinking rules posted on screen now. However, if you have already watched the movie, or do not care about spoilers, come along with us as we talk about the rules.
The first rule we have for each drinking game is death. If you see somebody die, you take a drink.
Grab his hand!
This movie feels like there was fewer deaths than the last one, and that is just a bit upsetting considering that sequels generally have more deaths than their predecessors.
Next, of course, is you must take a sip when you hear somebody scream, cry, or yell. Reminding you again that we did not count the numbers for this or any other rule, so this is something you're going to have to find out for your own.
The third rule we made for this movie was if there's a flashback or a dream, you take a drink. Even though the movie did not flashback on Zoe and Ben being the sole survivors of their first accident, there were still surprisingly quite a few flashbacks, especially in the beginning.
You were lucky to get out of those escape rooms alive.
Moving on to the fourth rule, which is if the players in the game move on to a new escape room, you drink. This is still very much like Saw movies, as there will always be a different way that the trap, or in this case, the escape room, will kill the people inside of it.
One more rule that will carry over from the original drinking game is if we see a camera, you drink. To be honest, we were not expecting this rule to stick around, but we were happy it did.
On to the new rules for the new escape room movie. One new rule is that if you see or hear the name Sonia, you drink.
We got a box with the name Sonia on it and some razor-sharp diamonds.
We got a box like that too, it says Sony on it.
The next rule we have is that if you see or hear the name Minos, you drink. This was not a part of our first drinking game, but it was a part of this one just because of how much more frequently it is said.
Minos found us.
Relating to the previous rule, you take a sip when you see the Minos logo or Minos cube. Again, we saw this appearing much more frequently in comparison to the prequel.
Next up, we have one rule that is sure to add on at least a few more drinks. That rule is, have a sip for each person that survives a specific room.
Now on to the final rule. That rule is you must take a sip when Zoe figures something out by solving a clue or a puzzle.
So maybe we pull the corresponding handles with the missing letters.
We pulled the metal handles?
And that does it for all the rules for Escape Room Tournament of Champions. Since this is a new movie, however, we did not want to be those weird people taking notes in a movie theater, so we did not have drinking totals for this movie.
I guess we'll rip it off like a band-aid. This movie is very similar to the second Hunger Games.
Yeah, similar in the sense that they had 2 survivors that had to play the games for the second time against other winners. So it's the same overall concept in a way.
Yeah. The movie started off with a recap of the first film, and you really didn't like it. Do you want to go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, it kind of just felt like a trailer in my opinion, and I don't know, it just kind of felt unnecessary. They could have done a little bit of a recap, but the way they did it felt like a trailer to me. And I don't know, when it came on the screen, I legitimately thought we were watching another movie trailer until the end where it showed the characters. I'm like, oh, this was a recap. Okay. And I don't know, I just felt it was unnecessary, and maybe it was unnecessary in our eyes, or at least my eyes, because Escape Room 1 was fresh in our minds from doing the episode on it. So, I mean, maybe if you haven't seen it, the first one, since it was released in 2019, it was good, but I don't know, that was just my opinion on it.
I guess the main reason that the first one was still fresh in our minds is, honestly, you could just say it's better. And the main reason that it's better is because of the characters. Like, you see all these old characters, like, I think his name's Jason and Amanda, whoever.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, all comes back to you. But, I mean, it never really left us, as you were saying, like, still fresh in our minds. Mm-hmm. But the old characters are just better. That's the other thing that makes this movie a lot worse. A lot of the new characters feel like they are just there to get killed.
Yeah, like, they don't give them any backstory. The most backstory we ever get for them is like one sentence for each character. So like that one first guy on the train, we don't even get to know his name.
Yeah.
But all we know about him, he's got a wife and he lost his hearing because of the escape room he survived. And then we know about Rachel, that she doesn't feel pain. That's about it. We don't even learn that until halfway through the movie.
I can't feel physical pain. Just imagine the kinds of puzzles they came up with for me.
And then we learn about that one girl. I don't even remember her name, but
I think it might be Brianna, maybe?
That sounds right, actually. But all we know about her is she's a social media influencer, or rather, she was a social media influencer until the first game she partook in. And then there's the priest, who's now an alcoholic, which they had an alcoholic already with Ben from the first one, and now they just introduced another alcoholic. I thought that was a little weird, but pretty much, like you said, they're there to be killed, and we don't get to know anything about them, so we just don't really feel sad about their death or happy for their death if we don't like them or whatever. We don't feel anything when they die.
Yeah, it's exactly like this. As you said, we basically just don't even know their names. That's how unmentionable they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I didn't like that part of the movie, but whatever. They were trying to make the focal point about the returning characters, so I get what they're doing. I just wish they put a little bit more effort into their main characters.
The thing is, it's what made the first escape room good.
Well,
so
exactly.
They're just trying to take a different approach to make the movie different, which is fine, but they're making it worse in a sense.
Yeah. And just, I guess, touching on Zoe, which was one of the returning characters, obviously. Again, she's like the only intelligent one for the most part.
Finishing letters are WBNO!
And for a tournament of champions, why is she the one figuring everything out again?
Yeah.
They're just using that same crutch as they did in the first one, where there's just one super smart girl figuring everything out, and I wish they would have done something a little bit different with that, but I don't know. I just didn't like that they relied on that same character trait for Zoe.
Yeah, and I guess the one benefit about this film that I will say is that the escape rooms were better in the sense that they were actually supposed to find things, as opposed as things kind of being presented to them in sheer luck for the most part.
Yeah.
So like this one, they needed actual logic to get out of the escape room, whereas the other one is just like warm up this jacket for a couple of hours.
Yeah, or like, for example, in the hallucination acid room or whatever, like Ben was just pounding on the walls randomly, and then it happens to find the anecdote. It's like there's no logic in that. You're just banging around. This one, they actually had clues that they had to figure out, and like I like that a lot more, the escape rooms in this one, but that's the only credit I'll really give it, I guess.
Yeah. I guess we'll start to move on into more of the spoilers, if you want to stick around for that. So a lot of it starts off very similar to the first movie, in the sense where it's just a lot of escape rooms, a lot of the same things, people dying occasionally. However, we learn that Amanda's alive.
Yeah, which I guess Minos just faked her death for some reason, and I don't know, that was ultimately the twist in the movie, and that was the one point in the movie where it kind of piqued my interest a bit. I know you feel otherwise about it, but do you want to go into why you didn't like it?
Okay, so the reason that I don't like it is it does one thing first of all, and that's change kind of the universe that this is all involved in. It's like, oh, fuck it, I guess Amanda's alive now, despite us basically assuming. It's, oh, you can't assume shit anymore, I guess. So Amanda's fucking alive because they want her to be alive. I don't know. Basically, plot convenience is like, hey, Amanda, make an escape room. And honestly, like, Amanda in comparison to, like, Danny, I'd say, would be better because he knows a fuck ton about escape rooms.
That's right, yeah.
That would be smarter, but I guess they kind of aren't going for smart in this movie, or at least logical in this sense.
Well,
as they resurrect the fucking character for some reason.
Yeah, well, I guess the reason they used Amanda is because she had the daughter, and she mentioned her daughter in the first one, where Sonya ties into this movie.
And I guess I kind of knew she was coming back in the movie, or at least it was suspicious, because there was one flashback that wasn't in the first movie than Amanda was in this movie.
Yeah.
So they basically brought the actor back, and like, did they actually just bring her back for one fucking scene? But I guess they didn't. They brought her back for the movie.
Yeah.
I guess one more thing is the psychologists. I feel like I knew that she was in on it.
Oh, 100%.
And the reason is because, like, what do we need to get you to go on that plane? And I'm like, that's pretty fucking obvious.
Yeah, no kidding. And, yeah, right, like, that was the very first scene of the movie, basically, and the fact that you're able to know that this therapist is going to play another role later in the movie, it's just like,
fucking stupid.
It's like, come on, you should have done something a little better than that, but
yeah.
Whatever. So the reason that I say it piqued my interest, I will preface this by saying I didn't like the twist, but it piqued my interest for the sole reason that the first half of the movie was just the exact same story and the exact same setup and everything as the first movie. So we're just watching the first movie. It's like an extended version. And then finally they do something different, which is the twist. And I'm like, okay, finally something's happening that isn't the same. So that's why it kind of piqued my interest. I'm like, okay, where are they going to go with this? Ultimately, they ended up going nowhere, but yeah, that's why I say it piqued my interest.
I say the main problem with that statement is you say you didn't like the twist, which is not a great thing.
Well, yeah, I know, and that's just because, like I said, it was just more of the exact same movie, and I don't want to see the exact same movie. I want to see something different. So when they do something different, it's like, okay, finally, but I didn't like where they went with that different approach.
Yeah, I get that, to be fair. I guess some more problems that it leads to the universe. It just leads to so many more questions as well. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if the whole game was revolved around getting Zoe on the plane, were all the characters alive? Did they actually go through other escape rooms and escape those escape rooms? Did Amanda actually live, or was she a figment of the imagination? Are people actually on to Minos? For another thing that you can mention, did they actually want Zoe to create another escape room? That's another thing.
Yeah.
Or do they just expect Zoe to say no?
Or they could be just trying to kill Zoe so that they don't get their whole organization unfolded and, crumble to the ground because they know that she's onto her. That's another way to look at it.
I mean, are they though? Because who knows? The whole police thing is set up.
Well, that whole police station was fabricated by the looks of it.
Oh my fucking God.
Like, everything she knew based on the whole twist and, like, how it flashed back to the scenes of the movie to do the big reveal, that was just a whole set-up police station and everything. So
basically what you're saying to me is the whole movie doesn't matter.
Well, the whole movie was just the therapist revealing that Zoe wants to unfold this whole organization and, like, tear them apart and whatever, just put an end to it. And then the rest of the movie is just a plot to get Zoe to make a game for them. Mm-hmm. But, like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It wasn't great, I guess.
So I'll say that if there's a third movie, the obvious starting place is that it has to be on the plane where Zoe's figuring out that escape room, which means one thing. You can basically skip the second movie and go from the first movie where at the very end they're setting up the plane into the third movie and be completely fucking on track.
Exactly.
You can just ignore the second movie and not be lost.
That was another point that came to my mind is I hate the fact that they left it on a cliffhanger in the first one where they're in the plane and you know that it's going to be an escape room. And then we get into the second one, the plane doesn't even make an appearance. And then in the end, it's like the exact same scene where they're in the plane again and it's ending on a cliffhanger yet again. So, like, what, are they going to have a third movie where they just kind of avoid that whole plane and end at the plane again? Like, I don't like it.
I also am kind of thinking to myself now, so if Zoe meant to get on the plane, just kind of chickened out seconds before boarding, do you think that plane's destined to crash now because of Minos?
Yeah, that's a fair question.
Or did it just fucking make it onto the flight?
Yeah, I don't know. So we kind of talked about our thoughts on the airplane escape room, obviously. We're not a big fan of that. Well, I guess we never saw it in action, but we're not a fact that they linger on it so many times. But going into some of the rooms for this movie, we start off with the electric train. Mm-hmm. And that's the one that you get to see a lot in the trailers and, the clips that Sony released on YouTube and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, what were your thoughts on the electric train?
It was alright. I wasn't the biggest fan of that one, to be honest.
Okay, yeah.
How about you?
I thought it was decent, and it was a decent one to start on, I guess. It wasn't my favorite in the movie, but like we said in some of the points we made, it did have clues and logic leading up to those clues, so I did like that. And that's the first thing I noticed when it kind of was on that train, that they're actually using logic this time around. So I guess I liked it more for that fact. But the overall room itself, like, it didn't look that great, I guess. Like, some of the other rooms looked really good. But, it was just kind of middle of the road, I felt.
I guess moving on to the laser grid bank vault, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I feel like, in my opinion, that was the strongest trap of the movie.
That's
Or,
fair.
sorry, room. Saws on the mind.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fair. Laser grid was pretty close to the top for me too. I don't know if it was the top necessarily, but it was close. It just looked good, and this one had even more logic behind it and clues behind it, so like that was another plus for it. And the way the characters kind of interacted in that scene, it was good. I did like it a lot.
Yeah, and so the main thing that I really like this escape room for is it felt like something that could relatively be done in real life.
Oh yeah.
So for example, like just finding the right patterns and then finding the bank vault numbers or the keys and like the lollipops. I feel like this is kind of something that could actually be made into an escape room.
Oh yeah, definitely. And
minus the lasers that kill you.
I mean, yeah, you could still have the lasers, but maybe you just like
Don't die from
don't
that.
die, just set off
Yeah.
an alarm or something. But anyways, that leads us to the beach right after that, which the beach looked nice. It's kind of similar to the ice room in the first one, where they're outside but they're not really outside. And it looked nice. It was okay. It was a little better than the electric train, I thought, but it wasn't near the top either, from my opinion.
Moving on to Acid Rain, I just guess there's not a lot to say about the beach one.
No,
It's
there
just
isn't.
kind of quicksand.
Yeah.
Acid Rain one, I like the concept of that one a lot more.
Oh yeah.
And the reason is because like it gave you cover for basically a certain period of time, and then after that period of time, the cover was basically destroyed. So you had to kind of think on your toes.
Yeah. And with the Acid Rain room, I feel like that was probably my favorite room.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not something you could have in the real life escape room like the laser grid bank, but
Yeah.
in my opinion, it looked really good. Like the set design and everything looked really good, and like you said, the Acid Rain, they had some time to hide under stuff, and I did just like the overall look of it, and I don't know, in my opinion, that scene kind of had the most tension involved with it too, like the most stress or pressure, I guess, that the characters were feeling. So that might be another reason why I liked it more. But I wasn't the biggest fan on how like Zoe was the only one to get out of that room and the others were kind of just left to die. It kind of seemed like it came out of nowhere and came way too fast.
Well, like it's just like you didn't even give him a chance.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's like the game itself is just cheating.
Yeah, and that I do agree with that, and that's why I don't like the ending of that room as much, but rather the look of it and how it played out, I guess I did enjoy.
And for the last room, I don't even really know what to call it. I guess the water and fire attic.
Yeah.
I think it didn't really do anything too much. I guess it just kind of tried to drown Ben and convince Zoe to make an escape room for Minos.
Yeah.
And that's really it.
That's where the twist came into play, and they made it clear that Ben wasn't able to escape that unless Zoe said yes to their question, and like, I don't know, it seemed too convenient that there was just a pipe there for her to melt the plastic or whatever to let Ben out. And I think in the revelation where they're in the police room or just boarding the plane or whatever, and she's like, she even makes the comment herself, didn't it seem a little bit too easy? And then that's the big reveal. It's like, oh, wow, okay, how convenient. And then obviously that brings us to the airplane, which we talked about, and I don't think we need to go into anymore.
Not really. So I guess just because of all the problems that we had with this movie, I feel like it's better off, or I guess the first one's better off as a standalone film. Like, this film doesn't need to exist.
Yeah, like, I really wish they would have just stuck it as a standalone film and only had Escape Room, the first one. It's kind of like Truth or Dare or Would You Rather. Like, those are all just standalone films, at least for now. And I wish they left it that way. Like, this movie, I guess, is still a fun film that you can kind of watch with friends, and it would be a fun drinking game to do still. But aside from that, if you're looking for like a great movie, just
look elsewhere.
Look elsewhere, yeah.
I guess that's Hollywood, though. I mean, once they get money from a first movie, if it does really well, they're gonna make a sequel for it.
Yeah, unfortunately. One thing I will say, and it's just another thing that I guess I didn't like about the movie, is there was no mention of Wu-Tan Yu in the movie. Like, not even once.
None.
And I hate that, because in the last one, it was kind of the big reveal that it was Wu-Tan Yu behind it, and like, they even ended the last thing they say in the movie is something about how Zoe is getting over her fear of flying, and let's play again. That's the last thing they say in the movie, and then they don't even mention Wu-Tan Yu. They don't show anything else. Obviously, they do put more focus on Minos, which we assume he's a part of, but like, but why not any mention of Wu-Tan Yu? I hated it.
I guess the only other name that they really mention consistently is Sonia. And if you really want to nitpick, Sonia is an anagram for, I think, no say. And this could be a reference to if Zoe had a say on playing the escape room again or not, or if Ben wanted to play the escape room again or not. Yeah. That they're always in control, kind of. That's kind of what I got from it, but it could just be me grasping at straws here.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because clearly she doesn't have a say in whether she participates or not. She just has to. She has no choice. They're going to get her one way or another, so I could see that being something, and I thought that was kind of a cool catch. You got Sonia, no say, and it's not the exact same as the anagram they used with Wu-Tan Yu being no way out, but no way, no say. It's similar enough. So overall, like we said, this movie, it is a good drinking game, probably fun to watch with friends, but if you're looking for a good movie with good plot, don't go to this movie, look somewhere else. Like, I don't know. There was just so much wrong with this movie, and overall, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. So, I could have gone without it, to be honest.
Yeah, again, the plot was pretty predictable in the sense that we could guess, like, oh, this character's going to come back into it. I mean, even before Amanda came back, I saw Ben, like, go down into the quicksand. I'm like, there's no fucking way he's dead. He's coming back, and I don't know how. But then, obviously, Amanda came back, and I'm like, the fuck is this? Yeah. That one pissed me off a little bit more.
No, that's fair.
And as for the Darwin Award, we will not be handing one out today. This is because we typically do not do the Darwin Award for new horror movies, so you can enjoy the film and decide who is the stupidest person for yourself.
And with all that being said, we hope you enjoyed our look into Escape Room Tournament of Champions. If you end up playing the game alongside the movie, or if you have any feedback or suggestions, let us know in the comments below. Also let us know in the comments who you think deserves the Darwin Award for this movie.
Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next week's episode, where we are going to be making a drinking game for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you want to check out our most recent video on the first Escape Room movie, click on the box on the top right. Or, if you want to see a playlist of all of our drinking games and movies we review, click on the box below it. Thanks for tuning in, and this is us saying,
Cheers to fears.